just met people where they were. Consequently, I think God's people ought to meet people where they are. We are not only the redeemed community, but we ought to be the reconciling fellowship. Because of that, we have organized programs around what I call the urban center. In the urban center, we have 5 programs. We have a jail ministry on 3 levels, pre-release, in-house, and parolee. We have a job placement program with 14 people representing all the agencies that work with people. We have an educational program where we drop what I call portable programs. For example, in Highland Park, we have a program there dealing with the total family. We also have a program linked with the school system and with the colleges. In the school system, we have what we call basic education from K to 8. We also have from 8 to 12. In addition to that, we have continuing education where we have tutoring program on every level. We also have what we call a program called the Center of Human Concern. In the program of Human Concern, Charles Green, who is a psychologist, Olive Campbell, who is a psychiatrist, Gwen Hicks, who is a university professor, or co-chairperson. There are 3 other clinicians other than myself and 14 staff people. We counsel on every level that you have. We also have programs which we call spiritual support systems. We train 25 lay people on different levels. For example, we have 91 people in the medical profession who are members of our church, 13 physicians, registered nurse, technicians, etc. We form what is known as program within the holy numbers. The number 3 representing the Trinity. 7, 6 days for creation, 1 day for rest. 8, new creation. 12, apostles. 24, 4 and 20 elders. 40, the days that Jesus roamed the earth. 70, the group he sent. So around the spiritual support system, we have 5 young adults. We match with 3 lay ministers. They become known as the Heavenly Adoption Agency. They adopt 8 children, 8 teens, 8 senior citizens. They must care for those people every month. For example, we have cosmetologists who go to the people at their 80s to 100 every month, do their hair for nothing, and their face and their fingers. Young adults go and make sure that their home is clean and write letters for them. 2 others will go and see that they go to cash their check, do their shopping, and come home. We also deal with the young adults. For example, what's your name, baby?
Dave Etta.
Okay, if Dave Etta were married and had a child, if she had a child on that Wednesday, on that Sunday, an unopened rosebud is placed in the pulpit. A special prayer saved for her husband, and the child. After the second celebration, we take that rosebud to the child. When she goes home, 3 people meet her at the home. One is a pediatrician, one is a nurse, and one is a person who has made studies of the different agencies. In other words, we take care of you from the crib to the crib. Those are the programs. We meet you where you live. We have 100 and some young people in colleges. We also give scholarships to them.
Dr. Sampson, could you tell us what it was that made you decide to go into the ministry?
That's a good question. Well, I found myself, what I call myself, giving of myself. And I discovered that happiness is not a matter of what you possess, but what possesses you. I also discovered there's something beyond pleasure, because I call pleasure a pause between 2 points of pain, anticipation and fulfillment that doesn't satisfy the anticipation. But joy is something that's deeper. So I had gone into the sciences, I had gone into clinical work, I was chaplain on the university, and I went to Africa and I went to India and I saw a lot of suffering. And I said, hey, how can I really find fulfillment? Because I was filling jobs, but the jobs were not fulfilling me. So I decided I wanted to find something in which I could spend myself. And while I was trying to make up my mind, the Holy Ghost made it up for me. And I found that I didn't get in the ministry, but the ministry got in me. And that's how I got into the pastorate.
What would you say is the #1 problem facing teenagers today?
I think the central problem faces teenagers today is the lack of a center around which their lives can revolve to give them a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, which will give them self-esteem, self-value, and self-worth, without which there is no sense of future. Some folk would say dope. Some folk would say pregnancy. Some folk would say disobedience. Some folk would say smoking. But I contend that a young person does not have a problem with marijuana. But if you have a problem, you'll get on marijuana. I don't think pregnancy is the leading problem. I think a sense of person. If a young woman have a sense of purpose and a sense of person, she'll put a premium on her body. And to put it in a common vernacular, I told my daughter that, so she says to a boy, I got a premium on my body. And if you don't keep up the premium, you ain't got no business being a beneficiary. So I think the central problem is not a problem of disobedience, it's not a problem of crime, it's a problem of a sense of purpose, a sense of person, and a sense of what I call a spiritual dimension in your life.
This is a Clara Luper radio show, and this portion of the show is being brought to you by Behold the Walls. Behold the Walls, the story of the sit-in movement in Oklahoma City. You may purchase a copy at your nearest store. Back to Roger.
What can we do to decrease the use of drugs among teenagers today?
Well, I think we need to, first of all, get in touch with the central center, and that's the home. Then I think we need to get in the second center, that's the church. And then the third center, that's the school. These three centers, whether they know it or not, have the same major, making people. And the home, too many times is an enemy of the church too many times does not know the home, and the school accusing both. And I said that the parent, the principal, the preacher, and the politician are arguing in the operating room while the patient is slowly dying. That's the pupil. And if you start in the home with a creative coalition with the church and the school, then you will help the young people answer those 6 basic questions they need. Here they are. 1, where did I come from? Rootage. Who am I? Identity. Why am I? Purpose. Where am I headed? Destiny. How shall I get there? Proceed. How long shall it take me? Timetable. You ought to start answering those questions at the house. Get that firm basis around Christ at the church. Learn to develop your mind at the school. And if you know who you are and know why you are, you can handle anything, anywhere, anytime, with anybody. So I think first of all, you need to find a support system. For example, I think the average teenager needs somebody to talk to at home without that person preaching to him in return. The average teenager really doesn't want a lot of answers, just wants a compassionate ear and to know somebody cares and somebody really loves. It sounds simple, but try it sometime.
Dr. Sampson, can you tell us how you feel about the Reagan Administration?
In this hour of history, Mr. Reagan is the best we got. Consequently, I say there are some things I disagree with, but in the meantime, I don't think we ought to participate in just changing who's going to rule things, because I say that's simply rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. It's already sinking. And I don't think we ought to be fighting in the front yard who's going to sit in the big chair when the house is on fire. I think the house is on fire. Let's get around the table and do something about it. I believe Mr. Reagan did hit the ground running. That'll make you unbalanced. I think you need to balance the budget. But I think the most important thing right now is not simply to balance the budget, but to balance the blessings. I think we need more statesmen, not just politicians who's going to work in order to get that constituency to vote for them next time. The world is in trouble. We have turbulence in Afghanistan, trouble in the Arab country, tension in the Israeli country, trouble in Africa, all over. We cannot police the world. We cannot feed everybody, but at least we better learn some lessons from history. Any nation that does not care for its aging, feed its hungry, educate its masses, where the middle class will not be so insensitive that it will not care for those in need. We are on our way to collapse. Rome can teach us that lesson. The Egyptian Empire in the ages can teach us that lesson. The Assyrian Empire can teach us that lesson. I feel that Mr. Reagan sometimes can be passionateless. I think sometimes he is concerned about winning too much. You can't win all the time. You're going to lose. But if you win with the people and you're concerned about your country and your world, you've got to realize that the power is in the people, and the government is a servant of the people. Let's talk about the welfare. You got a lot of folks who say that welfare is a fraud. Well, what about Lockheed? What about the Chrysler company? Then we love to get in racism, say that they are lazy people, they're black people. There are more white people on welfare than you got black folks. So I would say I believe in welfare, but I don't believe those who fare well ought to be on welfare. And if you're going to help people, help them where they are. But don't let the man with all the money keep it, and the man with no money don't get any of it. I think we need to support him, but don't support him because he's a Republican. Don't support him because you're white, and don't say he's no good because you're black. We're in the same boat. We need to be good citizens, but informed citizens, doing the best for our country. Because right now, he's the only president we have, so he must be the best one. And we got to work not as Republicans, not as Democrats, not as Baptists, not as born and going Christian, but as people who are American citizens.
Dr. Sampson, can you tell us where the most exciting place is that you've been and why you feel it's like that?
Honey, I got so many exciting places I've been, I don't know whether I can pick one. Well, one exciting place for me was Africa, because I had read so much about it. They told me I was from there. 5 years ago, I spent 8 weeks in 5 countries in Africa teaching and preaching. And I learned that Tarzan and Jane and Boy gave a lot of misunderstanding. Many of your countries in Africa are modern, not because they're black, because they're advanced. Another important place I went to was when I did part of my clinical work in India. The most important place I think I've been are the backward countries. And there I found without technology, without advancement, without middle class, I found a kind of creativity and an originality and a quiet courage that I wish I could find in an advanced country. People who have what we call nothing. I found teenagers who had never seen an automobile, had never seen a camera, who had never slept in a bed. I found young adults who didn't know what it meant to see a movie. They had never had the advantages we have today, but yet they were making a life for themselves. They were creative. They were reckless in their hopes. They were willing to stand up and make life count. One exciting time was when I was in Vatican City, when I had audience with the Pope. The greatest thing that ever happened in my life. I was born a black boy on the backside of slums where they told me I would never make it, would never mean anything to myself. But I had a little old black woman who had hope in her heart, told us you don't have a daddy to give you what you want, but you have a father who will never let you need, found Christ as my Savior, and the most exciting place I've ever been is where I find people. Not necessarily a state, a country, but wherever they are. And I can be a part of what I call life.
Dr. Sampson, who, in your opinion, has made the greater stride for equality, the American black or the American woman?
I like both of them, and I don't want to fall out with either. I feel that both. I have a lion shared respect for the black woman, and I think her history is going to have to be rewritten. I think everybody's taking advantage of her. Her children have taken advantage of her, her men have taken advantage of her, and her country has taken advantage of her. I don't know anybody who has been as strong as a black woman. For if it hadn't been for her strength, her quiet courage, her respect for herself, and the love for her children and her country and her church, I don't think the black family would be what it is today. But the blacks have been disenfranchised, depersonalized, dehumanized, and they have a central thing called the church. And I would advise the whites, I would advise the trained blacks, and I would advise anyone who can breathe to rethink the history of both the blacks and the women, and they will find that they have a contribution to make, not only for the ongoing of their people, but the ongoing of our country and of our world.
Dr. Sampson, on Thursday night, you stated to an audience of about 1,400, you cannot keep a fish alive with the same bait. Would you explain that philosophy to us?
All right. We're in a country where I think we are suffering from what I call moral bankruptcy, spiritual anemia, and ethical erosion. I've taught my girls, and they're pretty, they got good bodies. Never become a body. never try to catch a man with a body. I said to young men, you call yourself macho. If you're a dropout, driving a car with no skills and no education, you can get a woman, but you will never make her happy and hold her. And I said to the average young woman, black, white, or chartreuse, you are not a body, and don't let the discos mislead you. Don't spend all your time at discos, spend some time discovering. If you catch a young man with your body, it's like a fisherman catching a fish with a bait on a hook. Once you get the fish out of the water, you can't keep it alive with the fish you caught it with. You got to keep the water, you got to clean it, you got to fish it. So if a young woman catches a man with her body, she can't keep it because there are better bodies being made every day. She got to catch him with her purpose, with herself, and with her whole. Homes are collapsing all around us. There are more babies being born out of wedlock in some places than being born in wedlock. Also, this business of abortion. No woman got a right to talk about anything that gets in my body. I can kill it if I want because it is my body. Because she doesn't own her body. She's owned by God. She's protected by the Holy Ghost. And she is a part of an eternal scheme.
We're talking to Dr. Sampson, the pastor of the Tabernacle Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. As we begin now looking at the closing minutes of this interview, I would like to talk to you briefly about the Tabernacle Baptist Church. I had the opportunity to visit your church, an experience that I shall always cherish as one of the high points of my life. I would like for you to tell the audience about how many members do you have in your church.
You want the number John saw, the actual?
I would like.
Well, at the book membership, we have over 4,000 members. The supporting membership, we have 3,325. We have a staff of 34. Our payroll budget is $190,000. Our actual budget is $900,000. We have a theology class at 6:30 every Sunday morning, in which we have 100 people registered.
6:30 a.m.
A.m. in the morning, okay. Every Sunday morning. We have a celebration at 8. As you know, we have over 800 at 8 o'clock in the morning. We have nurturing classes at 9:30. Over 507, 900 in attendance. We have celebration again at 10:45, in which we have over 1,500, and we have a closed circuit television downstairs. We have 6 classes a week, different level classes. We have the Urban Center, as I've already told you, the Center of Human Concern. We now have 325 young adults active in our church. We have 425 educators in our church. We have 91 medical people in our church. We know this because we've made studies and we've organized them in order to do a work for Christ. We have an educational building that we have 3 stories. We have a regular sanctuary, and we have a community center which we've already just completed. We had a dedication on the 3rd Sunday in July. When we walked in, we didn't have a budget because a mortgage to run because we paid $1 million the day before we moved in.
Now, is it true that you raised $100,000 on one Sunday?
We know we didn't raise $100,000. The folk gave $100,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a difference between raising it and giving it.
You're right. Okay, the people gave you $100,000.
Out of their pockets.
Out of their pockets.
Yes.
Okay. Now, one thing that impressed me about your church was the devotion of the people toward the church. I had the opportunity to talk to your custodians, and they said they had never worked in an environment that had given them so much satisfaction. How do you continue to hold on to people like you have been able to do?
Well, we do what the Bible said. We take the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter, and we translate it. And if you look at it closer, for example, I teach all our new members. The 10 years I've been there, they made a report the other day. A little over 2,000 members have joined. We maintain over 85% of the loyalty because I teach all new members myself. All new members must take 50 sessions of the pastor's class. Not only that, but we take the 2nd chapter of Acts and translate. And if you look at the 2nd chapter of Acts, most folks shout about the Holy Ghost coming. And they talk in tongues and say that's all of it. But if you start with the 41st verse in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter, you'll find that the church became a school. The school became students. The students start sharing. They shared and sold all they had. It became sacrificial. They gave to everybody who was in need as they saw it. And then the Holy Ghost added to the church as all that should be saved. So we do a lot of teaching, we do a whole lot of fellowshipping, and we do a whole lot of loving. After every service, we have a fellowship service. We use all special days not to entertain ourselves, but all special days we invite people over the signature of Jesus. Every Thanksgiving, we feed over 500 people
pay to eat on Thanksgiving dinner.
Nothing.
You feed 500 people on Thanksgiving.
For nothing. And with no tickets.
You don't charge them anything. You don't have any anniversaries in your church.
No.
Do you?
No anniversary. I have no anniversaries. The memberships have no anniversaries. The organizations have no anniversaries. We sell nothing. Our music department has a school of music. We give professional singing, but nobody pays to get in. As you know, we fed 4 times the Sunday you was there, and nobody was charged to eat.
It is true, Doctor, that when you walk in your church any day, it's open every day.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yes.
And anyone can walk into your church.
Anybody, any color, any denomination. If you're not saved, we're not going to run you out. Because when I used to practice in the hospital, if you came in dirty with a broken leg, we couldn't put you out. So we say if you're unsaved and dirty, if you're a prostitute, if you're a dope addict, if you don't know how to talk, then this is where you belong. Because we can witness, get Christ in your heart, and he'll take care of the way you dress and what comes out your mouth.
This is Clara Luper talking to Dr. F. Sampson. We've been in Oklahoma City for the past 7 days in a revival. I cannot describe to you what actually happened at the St. John's Baptist Church. I can tell you that even if you just think about going to St. John's Baptist Church, you're going to run into some parking problems, but who cares? Who in Oklahoma City wouldn't mind walking 8, 9, 10, and 11 blocks to hear Dr. Sampson? Dr. Sampson, I have 2 minutes left, and I would like for you to speak directly to the people in Oklahoma City, and God knows we do love you, and you have been able to do what was impossible. For example, you have stabbed at our very conscience, and you have made us more aware of our responsibilities, and I would like to thank you.
Well, thank you. I love the people of Oklahoma City. I've been coming. This is my 4th year. And I've seen cooperation out of the ministers. I've seen cooperation out of the deacons and the staff people, the church people. I've seen cooperation out of the business people and professional people. And I would say, take what happened this week, let the Holy Ghost breathe on it, and let it become a part of the agenda. And you will see things change almost overnight, because it will get heaven's attention, Jesus' vote, and the Holy Ghost power.
And thank you so very kindly. Let me switch back to these 2 young people that were here. Would you tell us your name and the school you attend?
My name is Roger Coons. I attend John Marshall High.
My name is Devetta Lovelace, and I attend John Marshall High School.
Thank you so very kindly. You've just heard an interview with Dr. Fredrick Sampson. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the CSSR under the leadership of Reverend Howard. I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity once again to hear one of God's great speakers. I cannot say too much because my words are inadequate to describe the kind of fellowship that I experienced last week. I could tell you about the music and the choirs, but my words would fail me. I could talk about the dedication of the ushers, just don't have the words. I could tell you about Reverend Joe Edwards, who presented old-fashioned singing, and I could tell you about the men that led the hymns or the devotion, but I just want to say thanks for giving us the experience of spending a week under the fellowship of something that we could not understand. And I know next year when Dr. Sampson returns to Oklahoma City, those of you that did not have the experiences that we had, I know you will be there. This portion of our program has been brought to you by Medical Center State to Bank at exactly 7 o'clock in Oklahoma City on KAEZ Radio. Medical Center State to Bank is happy to announce that they have all Savers certificates available. They will be available through December the 31st, 1982. You may purchase any denomination that you would like, starting with $500 each. The interest rate is 70% of 52-week U.S. Treasurer bills. The rate changes every 4 weeks on a Monday announced by the Treasurer from their Farm Week auction on a Thursday. For tax exemption, a lifetime exclusion from gross taxable income for interest earned on ASCs of $1,000 for individuals and $2,000 for joint returns. Your interest is calculated, compounded. Your interest not exempt any portion of the ASC redeemed principal prior to maturity. Any portion of the ASC may be used as collateral or security for a loan. All or partial caused a 3-month interest penalty on the amount and eliminates the tax. Now, what I would like for you to do is to go to Medical Center State Bank tomorrow, ask for President Johnson, and let him explain to you in details the All Savers certificate. Reverend Lonnie Johnson will be going to Haiti during the Thanksgiving holiday. He will be going on behalf of the children of the world. And he would like to thank those of you out in Radio Land, and especially Alan Chapel and friends, for the generosity of your gifts to end the hunger, the starvation in his work. Congratulations to Mr. Lonnie Johnson. I would like to salute all of the people out to Watkins Stevens Nursing Home located at 2200 Coltrane Road. They have special diets, registered nurse and LPN on duty, and that's 24 hours. I'm talking about a complete nursery care. It's really a loving home for the elderly. That's the Watkins Stevens Nursing Home, 2200 Coltrane Road in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. You may call Mrs. Watkins, 427-1322. A few weeks ago, I received a letter from Councilman James. In this letter, he stated that he was inviting me to drive with him on a chartered bus to several wastewater treatment plants in northeast Oklahoma City. The tour, according to Councilman James, would include the South Side Treatment Plant, located at 2701 Northeast 4th Street, the North Side Treatment Plant, located at 2201 Northeast 56th Street, the Northeast 36th and Mosley Landfill, and a newly constructed North Canadian Treatment Plant, which is located 1/2 mile south of the intersection of Memorial Road and Anderson Road. I looked forward to that occasion, was so impressed with it until I have invited the councilman to come and share those precious moments with me. How are you today, Councilman James?
I'm fine, Clara. Thank you very much for inviting me this evening.
Well, I invited you to thank you. I think that was unique, and I think it was quite educational because, in the first place, there were many of us found out just exactly what was happening here in Oklahoma City. How did you come up with such an idea? That's really different.
I'm always concerned about the problems of a community, of any type of problem. I feel that before we can ever really attack a problem to solve it, we must understand it and know exactly what it is. I suppose for probably 95% of all of the people who joined us, I guess we had, about 35 people on?
Yes, on a chartered bus.
And I think probably 95% of them had heard about the Southside Treatment Plant for years, but had never actually visited it. And I took you down into the place for the trickling filters that
Yes, because all the time I really didn't know that was rock. I was thinking in the same terms that you so brilliantly and eloquently explained to us that you thought it was.
Well, one of the main reasons for doing the tour, because we invited a representative from all of the neighborhood associations in Ward 7 so that they will understand the total wastewater treatment program in the city. Well, of course, professionals always have a good name for a bad thing. We call it the wastewater treatment plant. They're just sewage plants, that's all. And if you know where they are, and we're attempted to explain the program, and of course, first of all, everybody, the first question they always ask is, when are we going to remove the Southside Treatment Plant? But I think you found out that there was more than just the Southside.
Well, I already knew there were more than the South Side, Councilman, but I really would appreciate your explaining to the people the same way you a PhD, and he's head. I bet you there are a lot of people out there in radio land didn't know that.
I'm sure they did.
How long has he been head of them?
Oh, gosh, Dr. Carpenter was at the city when I was on the council before.
But he was not head of the department.
Well, he became head of the department prior to my leaving.
Okay. Now, tell us what you told us about the progress that has been made.
Yes, we discussed somewhat of a schedule on how we are trying to deal with the wastewater treatment here in Oklahoma City. We visited the North Canadian plant that is located way out on Memorial Road and Anderson Road, and that is going to be the all-encompassing treatment plant, especially for the northeast area. We've just built 2 others in northwest Oklahoma City. I always like to hear people, I tell people that, because if we build one over here, they say, well, you just built it in the northeast. Well, we've just built 2 northwest.
Where northwest?
One is in the Chisholm Creek area. That's about 215th and Western. That is the Chisholm Creek plant. And the other is about 2 miles south of there, off of Western, and it's called the Deer Creek plant. What we plan to do is we've been trying to get the government to give us that portion of money that they had promised us, but Reaganomics sort of held us up. The city has all of the funds that it needs to contribute to these programs, but the Environmental Protection Agency that watches everything you do, must approve everything you do, furnishes 75% of it. And we just received $6 million, a couple of months ago, $6 million to get started on the final phase of the North Canadian River. As soon as the North Canadian River, the North Canadian plant is started, the Northside plant will be torn down. And we would say from 18 months to 2 years, we're hopeful of being able to remove the bigger portion of the plant on the south side.
All right, now, in order for us to understand this thoroughly, when your bowels move in the northwest part of town, it comes where?
Well, it can come either 1 or 2 places. It may go to either the north side plant or the south side plant, or if it happens to be in Nichols Hill, it goes to the north side that belongs to Nichols Hill, or it may go to the Chisholm Creek.
All right, and then through this process, you're saying to those of us on the east side that within 2 years, the stink that we have smell in the Edwards Addition and Garden Oaks area will be eliminated.
All things being equal with what the plans are at this time, we feel within 2 years, hopefully about 18 months, but we're going to stretch it out 2 years, and all things being equal, we are giving notice to the city that, well, at least I expect it to be gone, and it seems that will be possible.
Speaking of being possible, it is possible for you to attend the Fall and Winter Fabrics Show at the Pelicans Restaurant, 291 North Air Depot Boulevard, Midwest City, Oklahoma, on November the 4th, 1981 at 11 a.m. Styles for men and women. For further information, contact Charles E. Woods, 6225 Southeast 15th Street, Midwest City, Oklahoma. The telephone number is 733-7600. That's Sir Charles Taylor, who really does tailoring and alteration, 6225 Southeast 15th Street, Midwest City, Oklahoma. And don't miss that big showing of fabrics, November the 4th, 1981 at 11 o'clock a.m.
Good looking clothes.
Oh, great. Well, that should be good for a councilman. And someday we're going to raise your salary. And we're going to have to raise these councilmen's salaries. So we're going to wake up and the councilman will be filing Jim Cook. You see, Oklahoma City couldn't pay Jim Cook enough money. Jim Cook had to go to Saudi Arabia to make that money. I wonder, will he ever come back to Oklahoma City? I sure hate I didn't get to interview Jim Cook.
There's still an opportunity. He's still around.
Glory James, Mr. Councilman, you will have the opportunity to select a city manager for Oklahoma City.
That is true.
How does it feel to be in a position where you will select a city manager? Because I think your vote will be the key vote. How does it feel?
I suppose suppose it would be a great feeling if indeed it was the first. It happens to be my third.
You have selected 3. Now, you didn't select Robert Olen, did you?
Not at all.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Now, those of you that would like to apply for the city manager's office, what do you do?
Send in your resume to the city of Oklahoma City, to the city manager's office.
What educational requirements are you looking for?
We certainly like for persons to have had formal training in public administration. There are about 2 or 3 schools throughout the United States, well, in all of the United States, that really teaches probably 80% of the better city managers throughout the United States. Both Howard McMahon and Jim Cook, graduates of that university. Of course, Jim Cook, few people know that Jim Cook's also a graduate of Yale University. But people must have some expertise in the area of administration. You must understand bonds. You must understand contracts. You must understand trust and the federal bureaucracy, etc. Ad infinitum. And you must be able to have 9 bosses who don't always see together the same.
Well, certainly, the more you talk, the more that I'm convinced that I have a friend that need to apply for that job. And I would call on all of you that are qualified to apply. Now, some of you have your PhDs from Hard Knock University. Certainly, you can also apply. All they can say to you is your qualifications do not come up to par. So, Councilman James, I certainly would like to congratulate you for having the awareness.
Let me say a couple of things.
Okay, I gotta finish congratulating you. First, I'm gonna congratulate you for having the awareness of the need to stay in contact with your constituents.
Thank you.
Now you may say one word. Now you may say your word. Help yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Clara. Your kind words are most appreciated. We don't get those too often. Well, what I'd like to say is that bus that you were talking about is one of many buses that we have in Oklahoma City, new buses. It lets you down so you don't have to step so far, and it also has a door that a deal that goes down and pick up people who are not ambulatory. And for the people out in the Green Pastures area, we have a bus that goes down Hiwassee all the way over through the main Green Pastures area. Now, we've had this bus going now for more than 30 days. We have 60 days to get enough ridership to keep that bus out there. I think Dr. Dow started this effort many years ago. But we want people to get on that bus and ride it so that we can keep it going. We must make each bus route pay for itself. The federal government will not fund us anymore unless a bus route pays for itself. And now again, you remember that faithful voice over the radio many years ago. I heard it when I first came to Oklahoma City. That came on with "You are the sweetest thing this side of heaven." And we heard that familiar voice, "Negroes in the news."
Yes, yes.
I don't make the news, I just quote it.
Okay.
I'm sure you remember that. Well, those are the words of the inimitable Abram Ross, who I understand has been ill sometime. He's been a bailiff at Judge Cannon's court for many years now. Well, there's a street that goes right in front of his house from where he broadcast for many years, Alice Street. And I want everybody to know, and I want him to know, that street is fixed to be renamed Abram Ross Avenue.
All right. Congratulations, then. Abram and Willa Ross are truly the unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. Our time is just keep moving, and I have so much that I would like to say, and I better tell you about Lemon's Food Market. You want some good ribs and barbecues and hot links and mild links? Go to Lemon's Food Market. That's 2634 Northeast 23rd Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Lemon's Food Market, and Mr. and Mrs. Lemons will greet you there at Lemon's Food Market. He's in your district, right?
Yes, he is.
Oh, I know you're proud of Lemon's Food Market. Well, you go in and get some food, but I'm going to do what Shelley told me to do, is to go to Lemon's Record Shop, where they have records of all moods, and purchase some records. They have records like you've never seen. I want you to go to Lemon's Record Shop. And that Lemon's Record Shop is located at 2632 Northeast 23rd Street in Oklahoma City. Mr. and Mrs. James Lemons Jr. would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you that have stopped by during the past year. And as you enter the holiday season, they say to you, thanks, because without you, the Lemons Food Mark and the Lemons Record Shop would not continue to grow. Thank you. But speaking of thank you, yesterday I started at Langston University, and my Blue Regal decided that it would stop, and I was left on the highway. Finally, with that football player from Northwest Chrysler, Mr. Anthony Germany, and that Douglas High School, Kennedy, Germany, D.D., and Shelley. We got out to Langston and we stopped again, and Mr. Brown was kind enough to call a mechanic from Coral, Oklahoma. We also had friends from Oklahoma City that tried to help get that beautiful Blue Regal started, but it just wouldn't move. And finally, the gentleman from Coral came and moved back, and we started back to Oklahoma City, and that beautiful Blue Regal stopped again, and I've just been able to get her in. Well, what happened at the banquet?
Oh, Mrs. Luper, everything happened at the banquet, and I'm sorry that you had car trouble and couldn't attend. Because that class of 1931 really did put on a wonderful, wonderful program. They had it was by poolside, it was right in the gym, and it was around the pool, and they have a beautiful setting of green and white, green flowers and white archways, and they also had a beautiful float that was in the middle of the pool. The pool was full of water, and I don't know how they got that beautiful bouquet out there in the middle, but it was really pretty. And I want to tell you that that class really did put on a wonderful program. Now, there were 26 members, they tell me, that was in the graduating class of 1931. And out of that class, they had their teachers, they had doctors, and they had accountants, and then they also had some attorneys.
I want to know if they had $25,000 that they were supposed to present to Langston University.
And they had that $25,000 that they presented to Langston. Now, you know, Mr. Randolph was the chairperson, and Mr. Randolph...
Are you talking about Homer Randolph from East St. Louis?
From East St. Louis. So they gave it to him, and in return, he presented it to Langston University. So, therefore, I thought if all the classes would do like that class in 1931, it would really be a wonderful, wonderful show. And I'll tell you some of the persons that were there, Mrs. Luper. Not only did they have some people there that was the class of 1931, they also had some people there that was in the class of 19 and 18. And that was Dr. Eva Jesse. Do you know anything about it? Have you heard the name before?
Of course I've heard that name.
Eva Jesse's choir that used to be here years ago. And she told us that she was 87 years old, but you really couldn't tell it by the way that she moved across the stage. Then we had another lady who had graduated in 1911. And she'd been back to Langston 3 times this year. And her name was Mrs. Sadie Waterford Jones. Now, Mrs. Waterford Jones was from Chicago, Illinois. And she comes back to Langston, she says, to help and to encourage students to attend Langston University. And she told us how old she was. She was 92. But the way that she moved about, can you imagine anybody 92 has been back to Langston 3 times?
But I can tell you something happened at Langston yesterday, and I would like for someone to help me. Charles Mosley, who is a graduate of Langston University, was there yesterday, and he took his family pictures that he prizes so much, and he lost his pictures. Now, out at Langston University, there's an envelope that's filled with pictures. These pictures belong to Charles Mosley, and I would like for you to call me at 424-3949 in order that I can return those pictures to Charles Mosley. Let me repeat, Charles Mosley lost his family pictures. He was there yesterday at his homecoming showing his pictures, and he left those pictures somewhere, and I know they will be returned. Now, tell me more.
Well, okay, I want to tell you about the guest speaker. Now, they had a guest speaker, and he, too, was a graduate of 1931, and that was Mr. Vernon M. McCann, and he came from Maryland, all the way down from Maryland, to give their speech for that night. And his speech was very, very good, and because he talked about Charles Dickens. And he opened his speech with Charles Dickens saying it was the best of times and the worst of times. So if you know anything about Charles Dickens, then you know about how good the speech was. So we had a number of visitors there, and we had some from California, we had them from Dover, Oklahoma, we had them from Tulsa, Oklahoma, we had them from Chicago, Illinois. We have from East St. Louis. We have them from Los Angeles, California.
Okay, this portion of our program is being brought to you by Wonder Bread. We would also like to extend special holiday congratulations to you from the Soloway Auto Supply, 1811 Northeast 23rd Street here in Oklahoma City. John Easton, a friend of Langston University, would like to say congratulations to Langston University. And as we enter the holiday season, John says, come by 5101 North Eastern here in Oklahoma City. Holiday greetings from the Shady View Nursing Home, 1163 East Madison Street here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
I just want to say congratulations to the class of 19 and 31 for the Golden Anniversary Banquet. That's 50 years. And thank you, Langston Heights.
Speaking of Langston University, the Ross brothers of the Ross Funeral Home would like to take time to congratulate the Langston University for its homecoming activities and to also thank you for being a part of their growth. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you the National President of the Langston Alumni Association, the Honorable Ira D. Hall. Ira, it's all yours.
Mr. Luper, you know, all great people are modest people. And what I mean by that, they usually never say anything about themselves. They're fighting for causes, and they're fighting for the welfare of people. So I have one or two little items here that you would let me talk about.
Proceed with them.
Okay, then. You see, Clara, you are one of America's most outstanding civil rights advocates, and you're well known all over this country.
Now, we're going to fuss again. You aren't going to talk about me. You're going to talk about yourself. Now, you talk about Langston University and what you're going to do.
Okay, one other statement, Clara. Don't run me out of here.
Okay, I'm not.
There is a book being published by the library, which is a great publishing company, and my daughter-in-law works there, and she asked me to know Clara Luper, and she said this book will be out soon, and Clara Luper will be spotlighted as one of America's greatest civil rights person. And all I'd like to say is she's from Oklahoma, she is a Langston graduate, and God in heaven knows there aren't many Clara Lupers, and I don't care what race, creed they come from. So since you won't let me say these other things, I'll end it up by saying one of these days we're going to have a day, the Clara Luper Day, and it's going to be the greatest day that ever been had in Oklahoma City.
It was Clara Luper's day when you won at the Langston University. That was my day.
Okay, the winning and who helped me. This radio station, plus a lot of other people, helped me get 350 out of the 351 votes. But Clara, we had 100 more than any of the other candidates.
I wonder how many votes will a person get that will run against Melvin Porter, Kevin Cox, and Freddie Williams. I know we say that's your political structure.
Well, the end of a thing is always great, and I'd like to repeat this, and then I'll mention some of the 12 or 13 committees, because I think that you have to do things with we the people.
Okay.
Not I the people.
Okay.
And to say two or three things, we all know that Langston University has had all of its presidents fired but one. And an example of how bad it is, OU in the last 45 years have had 4 presidents. OSU in the last 54 years, 4 presidents. And our school in Langston had 4 presidents in 7 years. So we are appointing a permanency committee that will deal with both the boards, deal with the governor, deal with the legislature, and in no uncertain terms we will outline the permanency of Langston University, and if any bugs, we want the bugs removed, and this committee will be meeting and pointing up all the things that's different. The next committee will be a constitutional revision committee, and I will not try to explain. And
I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to invite you back next week to continue, okay?
That will be just fine.
That will be fine, because we really need more time.
And maybe you let me tell the folks.
No, don't talk about Clara Luper, because in the first place, tell those people out there in Radio Land that whatever Clara Luper has done is because of them. Dr. Carol Hardeman will give the welcome at Social Services Agency workshop on November the 6th. This will be held at the Capitol. And here's Onita with the news. Ross Funeral Home announces the following services. Services for Mr. Carl E. Sanders of 2121 North Rhode Island will be Monday at 1 p.m. in the chapel of the Ross Funeral Home. Funeral service for Mr. Alan Carroll of 1701 Northeast 42nd will be Wednesday at 11 a.m. at the First Baptist Church in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. Ross Funeral Home announces the service of Mr. Wayne M. Franklin of 13,101 North Midwest Boulevard is pending with the Ross Funeral Home. Temple Funeral Home announces the services of Mrs. Nadine S. Carolina of 417 Northeast 60th will be Monday at 11 a.m. at the Tabernacle Baptist Church. Funeral service for Mr. Robert Myers of Ardmore, Oklahoma is pending with the Temple Funeral Home. We would like to say to the families tonight, you do have a friend, and that friend is Jesus. This portion of our program is sponsored by the M&W Welding Company, 1314 North, Oklahoma. The telephone number is 232-7760. Tomorrow is the day that you must go to Rosie's Restaurant, 4705 North Lincoln Boulevard. She will be specialized in that good old soul food. Holiday greetings are extended to you from the Shady View Nursing Home, 1163 East of Madison Street here in Oklahoma City. Mr. Riley Brown not only extends greetings, but a big thank you. Reverend E.R. O'Neill, the proud pastor of the church that everybody knows, located at 2717 North Kelly Avenue, would like to say thanks to all of his members, and he's wishing you a happy holiday season. As I look at the clock on the wall, I know it's time for me to say goodbye. And before I say goodbye, I would like to once again say thank you to all of you that continue to buy my book, Behold the Walls. You know, without the purchase of this book, I would not be able to bring you the kind of news and the caliber of news that I want. And Mr. Ira D. Hall, the national president, says that's what he wants to talk about. And I'm going to invite him back next week to talk. And as I look, I received a call this evening that Maxine, that one of my students' father died. That's Kim Maxwell. And I would like to extend sympathy to the Maxwell family. In the meantime, I call upon the young people, especially the young men in this town, to let's make this month a month where there will be no young men arrested for burglaries. There is an old adage which says, "Thou shalt not steal." This is a month that we are calling for young men, black and white, to do without stealing. This is your month. Let's reduce crime in Oklahoma City, and we can reduce it by starting with you. Young men, once again, I appeal to you. Do not steal. It's ridiculous to look in our jails to see how many young men are involved. I need not say anything else. Tomorrow, the young people will go to school, and let me remind you, the purpose of school is to develop your minds, and unless you're doing that, you're wasting time. We have too many young people that are dropping out of school that are doing nothing in school. So as this radio broadcast comes to an end, I would like to say thanks to all of you, wherever you are. And I would like for you to remember my two outstanding bachelors. I have two handsome ones for you today. These bachelors are really super fine. They are Charles Mosley. Now, some of you out there that find his picture, that's a good outlet. All you've got to do is find those pictures of Charles Mosley. And ladies and gentlemen, the Bachelor of the Week, Mr. Willard Pitts. And incidentally, he's teaching out at Langston University, Langston, Oklahoma. There, I've given it to you. And this is Clara Luper say, catch those bachelors, and to those bachelors I say, you have some responsibility. Why don't you get married before Christmas in order that your wife can be assured of a Christmas turkey? And if you don't know how to bake a Christmas turkey, let me tell you how to do it. Fill the turkey up full of popcorn and let it pop, because that's what you do all of the time. Clara Luper saying, wherever you are, I want you to know I do love you. Bye-bye.
If you've been looking for a great-tasting food that provides B vitamins, calcium, iron, and protein, all rolled into one, take a look in your bread box. Right, your bread box. That loaf of rainbow bread has the taste and good nutrition you've been looking for, and it's been right there all along. Surprised? Shouldn't be. You know, rainbow bread isn't called the Staff of Life for nothing.
It isn't called the Staff of Life for nothing.
The forecast calls for cloudy, windy, cool.
Use me, Lord, everything, Lord.